Okay, so in this video, I wanted to talk about why I am an antinatalist. And for those who are long-time subscribers and are curious, yes, this is a re-upload of an older video that I did a couple of months ago. Now, first and foremost, I'm going to start off with the first reason. Life is extremely difficult and uncertain. Parents tend to be extremely and naively optimistic about the opportunities available for their offspring and the impact that they will have on the world, especially in today's world, because the job market is extremely hard to get into. The education system is getting harder and harder and is getting oversaturated at all levels, primarily at the higher levels, and where the basic necessities of life are hidden behind a paywall. Regardless of what the child's talents or desires may be, they are more than likely going to have to be wage slaves their entire lives without a guarantee of retirement or a career. Additionally, we are facing a stagflation crisis. So, for those who don't know what that is where wages are stagnant and prices, rents, and other bills are increasing year by year. So, that should be pretty obvious what the issue is. Alongside this, people tend to have children for very surface level and superficial reasons without any kind of concern for the suffering that the child will go through, as well as the environments and the influences that they will be exposed to and how this will change their character and the kind of impact that they will subsequently have on the people around them and as society as a whole. And not only what they're exposed to, but the nature of being a human being, involves you causing a lot of harm to sentient beings, whether it be through consuming meat or animal products for those who are interested in that, or environmental impact or water impact. I'm going to talk about that later on in the video. Now, back to what I was saying about society. Most of what the child will be exposed to will be a net negative, especially as they are growing up in a toxic and dangerous society run by evil people. There are a concerning amount of psychopaths, narcissists, and sociopaths in the general population nowadays, and they tend to get the positions of power and influence, whereas the people with desires to improve the state of the world are usually left at the bottom. Thirdly, there is a lack of consent involved in creating the new being. You cannot gain the consent of a new being to have the child. Most people will write off this statement and laugh at it, which shows that they are nowhere near mature or responsible enough to have children. Life is full of things that you have to do in order to survive, most of which are unpleasant and involve suffering. Additionally, you have no idea if your child will be able to handle the harshness of this life, especially as the education system and job markets get harder and harder. Now, having children is an extremely serious decision that and will more than likely take up the majority of your free time and money. And you need to have the right partner, resources, and economic stability, as in like money, basically, to raise children. And especially if you don't have the right mindset to raise children and deal with society, schooling system, money, all this kind of stuff, other parents, all this kind of shit. You are going to have them end up as your biggest liability, and you will do them an immense amount of damage. Raising children is much harder than what most people think, because most people have been conditioned by society to believe it's a great blessing and it's an amazing thing. But when you actually analyze the facts, that's not necessarily the case, especially nowadays. Adding on from this, you could raise your child in the best possible way. You can teach them all of the best virtues and try to condition them the best way possible. However, as touched on earlier, they will be heavily influenced, more than likely, by an extremely ignorant, fake, surface level and evil society that is getting continuously worse year by year. And you don't know what kind of impact that this world and society will have on your child and how they will turn out as a result. Because there is only so much impact that you can have on your children as a parent, especially as the child grows up. Moving on from this, the inevitability of death. For every single person, death is inevitable. Despite the achievements, goals, and interest in continuing to exist that is present in our species by and large, death is inevitable, and alongside this, death is a harm because of these reasons. It deprives the being of existence which they had an active interest in, and most people do not die in a peaceful way. They tend to die in painful, unexpected ways, whether it be from a heart attack, cancer, car crash, murder, alongside a myriad of other reasons. Now, I wanted to touch on the whole cancer, the cancer thing for a second. If you go on Google and you just search up list of cancers or something similar, and you have a look at how many cancers there are, that should give you pause before you think about inflicting this on someone else. Um, Especially as consider the fact that the natural desires of the body, right, are towards, harmful things, right, and that's going to lead to its denigration and destruction over time, and that's not something that is, that's not something that is most people consider before they have kids, right? The risk involved with things like this, right? So a lot of people, they have food to cope with stress, they eat a lot to cope with stress. They may do alcohol, which is not good for the liver, could give you pancreatic cancer. Um, the whole food thing could give you stomach cancer, or unlikely to give you stomach cancer, but some other form of cancer, because when you have a lot of fat, there are a lot of there's a lot of spare cells that could like form into some kind of cancer or what have you. I'm not going to get into that now, but the fact that people even have to resort to these kinds of coping mechanisms, drugs, alcohol, binge eating, should tell you something about the quality of life that you're imposing, right? Or the kind of life that we live in more generally. Now, I might get onto that later, but there are so many unexpected things in life that, just kind of, for me, makes it something extremely unethical to be inflicting on someone else. Alongside this, when a being is created, they have to continuously avoid pain and suffering and strive for fleeting pleasures, which usually consist in escapism mechanisms. Additionally, the child is going to have to work. Is going to have to work for the rest of their lives to sustain their existence, and life is getting much harder economically in this aspect, and it doesn't seem as if it's getting any better. The people at the top keep getting more and more money at the expense of the common citizen. So if you think about the truth of the matter is, right, especially since COVID, the rich have, just kept increasing the amount of money that they have, whereas the ordinary people at the bottom are facing unemployment crises, unemployment issues. They're also facing issues related to a lot of people just can't afford rent, can't afford groceries, basic necessities, things like this. So that's something else to consider. Now, yes, so I want to talk about the human body and mind for a little bit. The human body and mind are extremely vulnerable to suffering. For instance, a sore, injury, or psychological trauma inflicted by another can easily last for many weeks or months, whereas there is no pleasure that can match the duration of even moderate pains. So this is something that most people don't care about at all when it comes to reproducing, the kind of impact that the ontological nature of pleasures and pains, or just the frailness of the body and even the mind. I mean, one trauma inflicted by another, physically or mentally, right, can leave, scars that can last for years, right, months, right. You think of, as I said, if the various psychological, the physical issues that could come. You losing a leg could, significantly impede your quality of life. Simple, head injury, right, a simple car crash could just completely delete all your memories, for instance, which is a problem. Now, yeah, I mean, it just shows you that how fragile the mind and the body are, right? So this is an extremely fragile meat suit that we live in. Most people don't even think about this, but when it comes to people that procreate, this is something that they should consider ethically. So yeah. Additionally, adding on to the inevitability of death argument, and this is something that is very interesting to me as well, we have no idea, if any, what our true metaphysical condition is. People claim to know, but people have no idea by and large. However, pretty much all of the religious and philosophical systems tell us that this is a world of suffering, corruption, evil, and attachment that we should seek to escape from. And this world will seek to corrupt your child away from the truth, whether it be God or the it will seek to trap you in a cycle of reincarnation with its desires or what have you. I view it as unacceptable and irresponsible to the extreme for people to have a ton of kids, primarily talking about religious people, especially Christians and Muslims, and to expect them to figure this stuff out. Additionally, with Christianity and Islam, you do have the high likelihood of eternal punishment. So, for instance, in Christianity and with Islam, it's like this as well. If you don't believe in the very rigid contours of the religion, then you're going. If you don't believe in Jesus or in Muhammad or Allah or what have you, then you're doomed to eternal suffering. Right? That's the only other alternative, and that's something that people don't consider at all, really, especially religious people. And if anything, they're the ones having the most children. So that's a contradiction. And especially, there's even a quote in the Bible that says, "Narrow is the path to heaven, or narrow is the path to life." So, and it can only be found through Jesus Christ, right? So, if this world goes against that, right, and if the devil is the god of this world, and that's counterintuitive, isn't it? That's self-defeating for Christians and Muslims especially. Now, on to my last couple of reasons. Current global challenges and the state of society. We are currently facing issues relating to antibiotic resistance, AI, global warming, fresh water scarcity issues, inflation and monetary issues, alongside other factors, all of which your potential offspring will have to deal with. Previous generations were very irresponsible when it came to a lot of these issues, expecting future generations to be able to deal with them and kicking the can down the road, metaphorically speaking, but this is now reaching a breaking point. If past generations were severely irresponsible when it came to these issues, and if we as a society aren't talking about most of these issues en masse now, and importantly aren't investing a lot of money as a society towards fixing these issues now, what makes you think that your child has a chance to succeed in this world, right? You need to think about this, right? People's money, people's time, people's resources are going towards the wrong things. And especially if you are thinking about bringing someone here, right, you need to at least take actions to improve the state of the world. But most people are not doing that, which is incredibly hypocritical, and if anything, just strengthens my antinatalist stance. Now, adding on to this, I wanted to talk about the state of the masses more broadly. Most people in society are incredibly superficial, ignorant, and are programmed by irrationality, whether it be political fanaticism, religious fanaticism, inability to discuss ideas objectively and to come to conclusions based around truths of the world and society, or other topics, or family, friend group, or social media influence. This ensures that no collective actions can be taken to, at the very least, begin to improve the state of the world and society. The lack of critical thinking within society is genuinely concerning, and is unfortunately getting worse with the rigidification of people's mindsets. Democracy, individual liberty, and other things, other enlightened values, are going to struggle in the coming years. Yeah, so this is something that's very important as well. Most people don't really use critical thinking in their daily lives, right? Most people are not ethical thinkers. They're not philosophers at all. They don't think about their impact on the world, right? And so they usually just follow. Maybe their friends would tell them to do something and they just do it. It's a kind of peer pressure thing, or they see someone on social media that looks a certain way and they'll just follow them. I mean, the masses, because we on this channel, right, we talk, and in these communities more broadly, we often talk about a lot of very interesting topics, but when it comes to the masses, they usually just follow the newest trends or whatever. I know that's not as, I'm not saying everyone is like this, but there is a concerning amount of people that are like this, and they're the ones that usually have the most kids as well, which is a problem. Now, we have to talk about the decrease in personal liberty with the rise of social media and government surveillance, among other factors. Now, I want to talk about this because this is something that I see no one talking about. It's very interesting. So, with the rise of social media, right, especially over the past 20 years, not the most 30 years, because for the first 10 years, the internet was still kind of growing. It was still kind of in an embryonic state. But I wanted to talk about this now because when it comes to social media, the whole, I guess you could say, so you can connect with anyone across the world with the internet, right? And the whole goal should be to bounce ideas off of each other and to come to objective truths and conclusions, right? Not, okay, fine, you do have entertainment, you do have, a lot of reels and everything, sure, but I'm talking about the ideas, right? And people, as I said, people are not very interested in ideas, right? So, I mean, if anything, the fact that when people try to engage in debates or conversations, if they do at all, because channels that talk about ethical issues like this, and interesting practical issues are not subscribe to at all, by and large, right? But when you look at it, right, when it comes to people debating, you would expect the internet to at least change the mindset of a lot of people, or at least get them to start thinking. And from my experience, online and offline, it's not the case at all. People are stuck in rigid ways of thinking, religious ways of thinking, political ways of thinking, familial ways of thinking, what their friends tell them, as I said earlier. And I think that the majority of society is still programmed by and large by biological factors, or you know what other people tell them, or what have you. So this is something interesting. And the issues of government surveillance. I don't know about where you guys live, but in the UK, everywhere you go, really, there are cameras on every street corner. And officially, it's to prevent crime and all this kind of stuff. But the truth is, crime is just going up and up and up, because in the UK, well, let's not really go into it, but there's a lot of issues when it comes to policing and funding and all this kind of stuff. But of course, there's always a camera watching you. And another thing as well, I'm going to get onto this, is monitoring. So, especially on social media, right? I wanted to talk about this. One wrong post, right? One wrong interaction, right? One instance of being at the wrong place at the wrong time, and you are going to have a situation where, for instance, if you have a career or something, right, that's going to get completely derailed, right? It's so easy nowadays for people to just fire you from your job for something stupid, or something that might have happened years ago. I'm not saying this is happening in all cases, but this is something that is going on, and so that is a risk, right? And yeah, I mean, you don't know what could happen, right? When it comes to that, right? You don't know, what your kid could do online, or who they could interact with, or what have you. So that's something else as well. Now, where was I? Yeah, so I wanted to talk about something that no one talks about a lot when it comes to this as well. I wanted to talk about the nature of this life more broadly, especially when it comes to nutrition. Every life form on this planet is involved in eating another life in some way or another, whether it be out in nature, the food chain, or more importantly for this video, humans consuming animals primarily through the evil factory farming system. Most people don't stop to consider the impact that having a child could have on animal welfare. However, in a very pro-meat eating society, it is morally relevant to consider the impact that this will have on animals as a whole. Additionally, I feel uncomfortable with forcing someone to go through a predatory world such as our own, right, for those reasons. And not only that, for people that are concerned with environmentalism and things like climate change, if you have someone that feeds into the factory farming system, methane is a massive contributor to global warming. So by you having that child, you have increased global emissions significantly. So you have not significantly, but you've done your part in contributing to that. Now, the average person might listen to what I've had to say and respond with a view such as the West is going through an underpopulation crisis, or if people stopped having children for antinatalist reasons, which, spoilers, they won't at all, then who will pay taxes? Again, this is objectivizing the child and hasn't addressed the demographic reality in a lot of cities worldwide, actually. People will always, by and large, have it as their goal to have children due to a combination of biological desires and societal pressures, alongside maybe ignorance, depending on who it is, right? But most people are just not aware of these issues at all, or of procreational ethics. Additionally, the main reason why people cannot have children is due to financial reasons and maybe careers, amongst a range of other factors. Antinatalism is an extremely fringe ethical view in the grand scheme of things. So that's something I have to get out there, because people love to probe around and say, the reason why you may have this view is due to some kind of psychological issue that you may have, or some kind of suffering that you went through. And I think that that's being extremely intellectually dishonest and disingenuous, as people like to do. People are usually like this. That's something you have to get out the way as well, because that's, these are serious issues that I've talked about in this video specifically, and people need to understand this issue, understand these issues more generally, and can take that into consideration if they choose to procreate, or, to have kids, right? So, yeah. And additionally, the economic impact, as life gets harder and harder economically, and as there is a lack of government support, benefits are decreasing, welfare payments are decreasing. You don't even know if the economy and the government will be willing to or able to give you money in the coming decades. Um, but yeah, another thing as well is that in a lot of English cities, right, there are. It's not that people aren't having children. It's actually not true. A lot of the elites at the top are concerned about people not procreating to bring more wage slaves into society. But everywhere I go, I see a ton of children, everywhere. And no matter where I go, where I look on social media or what have you, or on TV even, or even though I don't really watch TV, but whatever, everywhere I go and everywhere I see, people are having a ton of kids, right? So people don't care ethically about the ethics of procreation at all. People just have them because of, that's what society said, as I said, or that's what you're meant to do, and all these kinds of things. And yeah, I mean, the fact that people are having so many kids, especially in major cities in the UK, it puts pressure on infrastructure, on public resources, on school places, even hospital places, crucially. So this is something to consider as well. If you are going to have children, you need to consider the ethical impact that that's going to have on wider society, because you are bringing someone into that society. It doesn't matter what your religious views or your personal views may be, okay? And this is something that a lot of natalists fail to even think about. Now, that's my video over. If you were just here for the video, you can leave. If you want, you can click off. Before I go, I wanted to apologize for my subscribers for not being able to upload videos for a couple of weeks. I think it's been almost a month now, or maybe more. I do apologize for that. I am going to try and restart covering a lot more philosophical topics. I want to try and branch out more if I can. So yeah, this is something that's very important to me. This channel, it's kind of my only form of outreach. So I try to. I'm going to try and cover a lot more philosophical topics, a lot more interesting topics. I can't guarantee you guys a stable schedule, but I'll try my best to upload when I can. But yeah, thanks for listening to this video if you have until now, and see you in the next one. Bye.